Welcome to this deep dive, and we are going to be looking at tribes. We Need You to Lead Us
By Seth Godin.
by Seth Godin, that's right.
Yeah.
And we're going to be kind of extracting
Hmm.
some key insights from this book, and trying to understand how tribes work,
Right.
why they matter now more than ever, and what it takes to lead one. And
Absolutely.
especially, given that you've been working on this project, seems like a pretty timely
It certainly is.
deep
It's
dive.
very timely. The core argument that we're in desperate need of leaders
Hmm.
who can inspire and drive change is really more relevant, I think, now than ever.
Right.
And he's not just talking about CEOs or politicians.
Right.
He's talking about anybody with a passion and a vision and a willingness to kind of step up and lead.
Yeah. It's funny, I was just talking to a friend the other day who was feeling really stuck in their career and like they were just going through the motions.
Mhm.
And I thought maybe what they're missing is that sense of purpose, that connection to something bigger than themselves that you really get from being a part of a tribe.
Totally. That feeling of belonging, working towards a common goal.
Right.
With like-minded people, that's the magic of tribes.
Yeah.
But let's define a tribe first.
Okay.
Godin describes it as a group of people connected to one another, a leader and an idea.
So it's not just about being part of a group.
Right.
It's about the shared purpose and the shared passion.
Exactly.
Right. Like I'm thinking of Joel Spolsky.
Yeah.
The software developer he mentions,
Oh,
who
yeah.
built a tribe around his ideas about managing programmers.
Mm-hmm.
And he shared those through his blog and his books and things like that.
And that's a great example of how the internet has become this tool
Yeah,
for building a tribe. You don't need to be in the same physical space anymore.
right.
So his tribe is global, connecting people through shared interest and desire to learn.
Yeah,
And that resonates with you, I think, given your own interest in the world of software,
it does. Yeah, for sure.
which is constantly changing.
It makes me think like anybody can build a tribe around something that they're passionate about.
Absolutely.
I mean, if a software developer can do it,
Right.
why not somebody who loves underwater basket weaving or,
Exactly.
selecting vintage lunchboxes?
The internet has broken down the barriers.
Yeah,
But you bring up a good point. It's not just about belonging.
right.
Tribes can be powerful forces for change.
Mm-hmm.
Godin highlights the Grateful Dead,
Yeah,
who cultivated a massive loyal following.
right.
Their tribe wasn't just about the music, it was a whole culture.
Oh, yeah.
It was a way of life.
I can appreciate that. Yeah, as a music lover myself, it's
Yeah.
like the music was the common ground,
Right.
but the tribe, it created like a sense of belonging, shared values, even a shared identity.
Exactly. And that shared identity
Right.
is what makes the tribe so powerful.
Right.
They tap into that very basic human need
Yeah.
for connection, for belonging,
Yeah.
but they also provide a platform for action.
Like Jacqueline Novogratz's Acumen Fund. They built a tribe around tackling global poverty through entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Talk about impact.
Yeah, making a real world impact.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a really crucial point.
Okay.
The world is changing faster than ever.
Right.
Industries are being disrupted.
Mm.
The old ways of doing things are becoming obsolete.
Yeah.
Remember Godin's point about established 1906?
Right.
What used to be a mark of stability
Yeah.
can now be a sign of stagnation,
Totally.
especially in a dynamic field like yours.
Right.
This constant evolution means that being part of a tribe,
Mm-hmm.
a group that's constantly learning and adapting, becomes even more critical.
It's like you need that support system,
Yes.
that collective intelligence almost to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. And that's where leadership comes in.
Okay.
And Godin makes this distinction between management, which is about maintaining the status quo,
Mm-hmm.
and leadership, which is about inspiring change.
So leadership isn't just for people with manager in their job title.
Not at all. Godin argues that anyone can be a leader, regardless of their position.
Like Thomas Burnett,
Yes.
the researcher that he mentions,
Mm-hmm.
who ended up kind of shaking things up at the Pentagon.
Exactly.
It's inspiring to think about how you could make an impact in your own workplace
Absolutely.
just from where you are.
He led from the bottom up,
Yeah.
building a tribe of like-minded individuals
Mm-hmm.
who were passionate about changing the system.
And it reminds me of something that Godin did himself way before he was a best-selling author.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a young employee, he started a simple newsletter celebrating his team's work.
Right.
But think about the impact he fostered, a sense of shared purpose, a sense of community.
And that's the power of small actions.
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is a spark to ignite a movement.
Right.
Given your interest in internal communications, imagine the positive ripple effects
Mm-hmm.
you could create by connecting people around a shared goal within your own organization.
It's making me think, but, building a tribe from scratch seems daunting.
Right.
Where do you even begin?
Well, Godin breaks it down into 3 key steps:
Okay.
motivate, connect, and leverage.
Okay.
And let's take the example of Wikipedia.
Okay.
Think about how Jimmy Wales motivated volunteers.
Yeah.
With a compelling vision, a free encyclopedia anyone could contribute to.
Right.
He connected them with tools for collaboration and communication.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, he leveraged their contributions on a global platform, Wikipedia itself.
It's amazing how a seemingly simple idea
Mm-hmm.
combined with the right approach to building a tribe
Right.
can lead to something so impactful.
Yeah.
But let's face it, putting yourself out there, leading a tribe, it takes courage.
Yeah.
What about the fear of failure? The fear of judgment?
You've hit on something that holds a lot of people back.
Mm-hmm.
But Godin's perspective on fear is pretty interesting.
Okay.
He argues that the fear of failure, especially in the context of organizations,
Right.
is often overblown. In many cases, the organization absorbs the cost of failure, not the individual.
Now that's reassuring, but if it's not the fear of failure itself,
Right.
what is it that makes people hesitate?
It's often the fear of blame,
Okay.
of criticism, of standing out from the crowd,
Right.
putting yourself out there, striving to be remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
It comes at the risk of being judged.
Yeah.
But Godin argues that it's a risk worth taking.
I used to be terrified of public speaking.
Uh-huh.
My heart would race. My palms would sweat.
Right.
But I had this opportunity to present at a conference. And I was so nervous, but I kind of pushed through it. And you know what?
Yeah.
It went great.
Good for you.
And it made me realize that the fear was way worse in my head than in reality.
That's a perfect example of how facing our fears can be so empowering.
Right.
It's like once you've done the thing that scared you,
Yeah.
it loses its power over you.
So we've faced the fear. We're ready to build our tribe. We're understanding these steps motivate, connect, leverage. Right.
But who are we building it for, everyone?
That's a great question. And it brings us to Godin's concept of true fans.
Okay.
He emphasizes that having a smaller group of truly passionate followers is more valuable than a large passive audience.
Right.
And Godin highlights Laura Fitton, who built a successful career through Twitter
Oh, wow.
by consistently sharing valuable insights and engaging with her tribe.
Interesting. That's particularly relevant for someone like you with your interest in building an online following.
Sure.
It seems like the key takeaway here is that genuine connection, sharing your expertise authentically, is far more effective than chasing after a massive but maybe less engaged audience.
Exactly. It's about fostering a community where people feel seen, heard, and valued.
And it's not just about building any tribe.
Right.
Godin really emphasizes that we have an obligation to lead to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Especially with the resources and platforms we have today. It feels like there's a real opportunity to create positive change.
He's challenging us to step up, right?
To not settle for mediocrity. He even uses the word heretic to describe the kind of leader
Oh, wow.
who questions the accepted norms and pushes for positive change.
That's a strong word.
It is.
It makes me think about those individuals who weren't afraid to go against the grain,
Yeah.
who challenged the status quo and ultimately changed the world.
Think about your own passions and interests.
Okay.
How could you leverage those to become a heretic? To lead a tribe that challenges conventions and makes a real impact?
That's a powerful question, but it brings up another challenge: leading a movement, making a real difference. It can feel daunting.
It can.
How do we go from wanting to make a difference to actually doing it?
Right.
What does leadership look like in action?
Godin offers some interesting insights into that.
Okay.
He talks about Mitch Matthews, a senior vice president at Microsoft.
Okay.
She's not a public figure,
Mm-hmm.
but she leads a tribe of thousands within the company,
Wow.
shaping their marketing efforts.
So leadership doesn't always have to be flashy or public-facing.
No.
It can be about leading from within, inspiring those around you to do their best work.
Exactly. And it often comes down to those same principles we talked about earlier, fostering connection and communication.
Right.
Remember how Godin built a tribe early in his career by simply starting a newsletter that highlighted his team's work?
Right. Small, consistent actions can have a ripple effect.
Exactly.
But what about larger scale change? How do individual tribes become movements that truly shift the landscape?
Godin highlights the power of movements with examples like Muhammad Yunus's work with microfinance
Okay.
and Al Gore's efforts to raise awareness about climate change.
Right.
Both of those issues existed for decades before gaining real traction.
So what was the turning point? Was it simply having the right answers?
It was about building movements.
Okay.
Yunus and Gore understood the power of connecting people, fostering communication and peer support within their tribes.
Yeah.
They weren't just presenting solutions, they were creating spaces where people could come together, share ideas, and feel empowered to take action.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Precisely. And the internet has made it easier than ever to connect and build movements.
Right.
Look at the Arab Spring, the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
These are examples of how tribes fueled by digital communication can challenge the status quo and drive real change.
It's incredibly inspiring, but Godin also talks about the need to understand how organizations function.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to have a great idea.
Right.
You need to know how to navigate the system,
Yeah.
how to leverage existing structures to make change happen.
Absolutely.
He uses Nicholas Zenstrom, the co-founder of Skype, as an example.
Right.
Okay.
Zenstrom knew that taking on established telecom giants was a David and Goliath battle.
Yeah.
But he also understood that by empowering his tribe to connect and spread the word, he could spark a movement that couldn't be ignored.
It's like giving people the tools and the inspiration to fight their own battles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this loops back to the idea that leadership isn't limited to CEOs or managers.
Right.
It can come from anywhere within an organization.
Mm-hmm.
Godin gives the example of Jim Delegati, a McDonald's franchise owner,
Oh, wow.
who invented the Big Mac.
Wait, a franchise owner revolutionized the menu of a global fast food giant?
It's a testament to the fact that anyone can be a leader.
Wow.
Delegati had a vision, and he wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo, and his creation, the Big Mac, became a global icon.
Right.
This leads us to another important point. Godin makes the importance of recognizing and supporting positive deviance.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What are positive deviants?
They're the individuals within a tribe who challenge norms, experiment, and aren't afraid to be different.
Okay.
They're often seen as troublemakers, but they can be the ones who drive innovation and progress.
Interesting.
Godin talks about Jerry Sternin, who worked with communities struggling with malnutrition in Vietnam.
So we're talking about Vietnam and malnutrition. Wasn't there already a lot of aid going to these communities?
There was, but a lot of the solutions being imposed just weren't working.
Right.
Sternin decided to take a different approach. He noticed that despite widespread malnutrition, some families were actually thriving. Instead of imposing solutions from the outside, he focused on understanding what these families were doing differently.
So instead of assuming he knew the answer, he looked for the solutions that were already working within the community itself?
Exactly. And by highlighting the practices of these positive deviants,
Right.
he empowered others to adopt similar strategies and improve their own nutrition.
That's really cool.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most innovative solutions come from unexpected places.
This has been such an insightful exploration of tribes and leadership. But I have to admit, it can feel a bit overwhelming. We've talked about these big ideas, global movements.
Yeah.
Where does someone like me, just starting out, even begin?
That's a feeling a lot of people have. But Godin emphasizes that you don't need to have all the answers or a grand plan to get started. The important thing is to take action.
So instead of getting stuck in analysis paralysis, just start moving.
Exactly. Focus on the smallest possible step
Right.
you can take today to move your idea forward.
Okay.
Maybe it's writing a blog post, starting a conversation with someone who shares your passion,
Yeah.
or simply committing to learning more about a topic that interests you.
It reminds me of that story Godin tells about Scott Beale, who used Twitter to organize an impromptu party at the SXSW conference.
Yes.
He just found an empty bar, tweeted the location, and within minutes,
Wow.
a tribe of like-minded people appeared.
It's a great example of how simple actions fueled by the power of connection can lead to unexpected outcomes.
For sure.
Of course, it's important to remember that building a tribe takes time and consistent effort. It's about nurturing relationships, sharing your expertise, and showing up authentically for your community.
It's not about instant gratification.
Right.
It's about building something meaningful and sustainable.
Exactly.
Which makes me think, how do you ensure your tribe stays relevant, stays engaged in a world that's constantly changing?
That's a great question. Godin talks about the importance of understanding the market,
Okay.
of being aware of the forces that shape our world.
Right?
He uses the example of the music industry,
Mm-hmm.
which was really slow to adapt to the digital revolution.
It's almost like they were trying to hold on to the past instead of embracing the future.
Exactly. They were so focused on protecting their existing business model
Yeah.
that they failed to see the opportunity in the emerging digital landscape.
It's a cautionary tale. In a world of constant change, you have to be willing to adapt,
Right.
to evolve, or risk becoming obsolete. But change can be scary.
It can.
It often feels easier to stick with what's familiar, even if it's not working anymore.
It is scary. But Godin challenges us to embrace the unknown, to be comfortable with experimentation.
Okay.
He argues that the traditional model of the factory,
Right.
which represents that hierarchical structure that prioritizes efficiency and control, is becoming increasingly outdated in a world that demands agility, creativity, and adaptability.
So instead of just following orders, we need to be encouraged to think for ourselves.
Yes.
To challenge assumptions and to come up with new ideas.
Exactly. It's about moving from a culture of compliance to a culture of contribution.
I like that.
Godin uses the term sheepwalking
Okay.
to describe the phenomenon of people blindly following orders without questioning or thinking critically.
I've definitely seen that in action. It's like people are so afraid to rock the boat to stand out that they end up just going through the motions.
And that can be detrimental not only to individual fulfillment, but also to the success of the organization as a whole.
Right.
So how do we break free from this sheepwalking mentality?
I'm guessing it's not as simple as just telling people to be more creative and take more initiative.
You're right. It requires a shift in culture.
Okay.
It starts with recognizing and rewarding those who demonstrate leadership qualities, those who are willing to experiment, take risks, and challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
Godin uses a great analogy. He talks about being a thermostat, not a thermometer.
Okay, I'm curious about this thermostat analogy.
A thermometer simply reflects the existing temperature. A thermostat actually changes it.
Okay.
Godin is urging us to be proactive, to take ownership, to shape our environment instead of just reacting to it.
So instead of just measuring the status quo, we need to be actively working to change it.
Exactly. And this is a mindset that can be applied to any area of our lives.
This entire deep dive has been like a call to action.
Yeah.
It's made me think about the tribes I'm a part of, the ones I want to create, and the impact I want to have on the world.
And that's precisely Godin's message.
Yeah.
He reminds us that the barriers to leadership have fallen. The tools are available. The opportunity is there. So why not you? Why not now?
He leaves us with a lot to think about. But as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the key takeaway is this. We all have the potential to be leaders. We all have the power to build tribes, to create movements, and to make a positive difference in the world. What tribe will you lead? What change will you create? That's the question I hope you'll keep asking yourself until next time.